The wisest thing Caleb did in the days after finding the stone was nothing at all. Not because he was cautious by nature, though he was, but because he understood, in the particular way that quiet people understand things, that he didn't yet know enough to know who to trust. And a secret shared before you understand it is no longer a secret. It's a gift you've handed to someone else to interpret. So he said nothing. He carried the stone. He waited. This is episode 3. 3 days passed. Solian did not speak. The stone sat in Caleb's coat pocket through the mornings at the forge, and the evenings at the table, and the nights when he lay awake running the conversation in the forest over and over until it lost its edges. He half expected the voice to return with instructions, with urgency, with the weight that something is coming deserved. Instead, silence. Edric taught the way he always taught. Demonstration first, then space, then the slow patience of a man who understood that watching was its own form of learning. They forged horseshoes and door hinges and the agricultural tools that kept Grayfin running through the seasons. Caleb worked beside him and said nothing unusual, and noticed, as he always had, that his father never wasted a movement. On the 4th day, they were heating a long iron bar for the Aldrich family's new plow when Caleb saw it. He wasn't looking for anything. He was simply doing what he had always done, watching the fire while his hands did their work. But this time, something shifted, the way your eyes will suddenly focus past the surface of a window and find the street behind it. Beneath the flames, not in them, but beneath them, something moved. Not the fire moving, something else. As though every smallest part of the flame existed simultaneously in 1,000 different states, and the thing threading all those states together was a kind of memory. The memory of every fire that had ever burned, in every place, from the moment the first fire existed. He went very still, and Solian said quietly, as though he had always been there, "That is earth ether, the oldest layer, the deepest. You just saw it for the first time." "How did you know I saw it?" Caleb murmured, barely moving his lips. "Because I felt it. The connection between us is not only voice, it is ether. When you open to it, I can sense the opening." At the far end of the forge, Edric did not look up. "The iron," he said. "Don't let it cool." Caleb gripped the tongs and held the bar in the fire. His hands were steady. His eyes remained fixed on the thing he had just seen. "How do I learn to use it?" he asked, quietly enough that Edric would catch only the sound of breath, not the words. "You don't learn to use earth ether," Solian said. "You learn to listen to it. The difference is significant." "Where do I start?" "Here, this moment. Every time you look into fire, or stone, or soil, or anything that has existed longer than people, try not to look at it. Try to look through it." Caleb turned this over without speaking for a moment, like looking into water to see the bottom rather than the surface. A pause. Longer than usual. Then, "Vedris, my teacher, spent 6 months finding that formulation. You arrived at it in 4 days." Caleb didn't know what to do with that. He filed it away, the way he filed most things. Not discarding, not yet using, just holding until the meaning became clear. "Is that good?" he asked. "It means you have been doing this already," Solian said, without knowing what it was. "The question is no longer whether you can learn to see. The question is what you will find when you look more carefully." From the far end of the forge, Edric set down his hammer. "Good," he said, examining the iron. "Another pass, and it's ready." He said it the way he always said it, with a certainty that had no visible source, not a guess, not experience applied to a formula, just knowing. Caleb looked at his father's hands. That evening after supper, when Edric's footsteps had crossed to his room and the forge had gone cold, Caleb sat at the table with the stone in front of him. "Solian, I'm here. You said you came looking for a specific bloodline, the bloodline of people who can hear earth ether." "Yes, My father, your father, Solian said, is the finest smith in this region. Not because of technique. He has technique, but so do others. He is the finest because he hears metal in a way other smiths cannot. He knows when steel is ready to work, when it needs more heat, when it has had enough. Not from years of experience producing reliable instinct. From something else. Something prior to experience. Caleb looked at the closed door of his father's room. Does he know? About earth ether? About what it is? That, Solian said, is a question you should ask him. Not me. Why not you? Because my answer and his answer may differ, and you need to hear both. Caleb sat with that for a long moment. Outside, the wind moved through the pine forest in its usual way. Steady, uninterested, neither threatening nor reassuring. Just the sound of air through needles, the same sound it had been his entire life. What do you think his answer would be? I think, Solian said carefully, that he knows more than he has said. I think he has known for a long time, and I think the reason he has not spoken is more complicated than simple secrecy. More complicated how? Another pause, the kind that had a shape to it. Ask him, Solian said again, before you ask me. The order matters. Caleb sat at the table for a long time after Solian went quiet. The candle burned down to its last inch. The stone sat on the wood in front of him, matte and dark and still, giving nothing away. From his father's room, the slow, even rhythm of breathing, deep and steady. The breathing of a man asleep, or the breathing of a man who had spent years learning to make sleep sound convincing. Selum blew out the candle and sat in the dark. He thought about the fire, about the thing beneath the fire that he had been watching his entire life without knowing what it was, about his father's hands moving over heated iron with a certainty that had no visible source. He thought about the word Solian had used, not living in Grafen, not settled in Grafen, hiding, and now tonight a different word had been added. Not secrecy, something more complicated than simple secrecy. He didn't know yet what that meant, but he had learned in 4 days of carrying a stone that spoke that Solian chose his words the way his father chose his movements. Nothing wasted, nothing accidental. If the distinction mattered enough to name it, it mattered. He sat in the dark and listened to his father breathe and did not ask. Not tonight.